Thank you for having me here today. It's an honor. I'm going to talk to you about one trait. It is the trait that underlies the innovation in all of your companies. It is the trait that enables us to create a healthy corporate culture. That trait is, of course, curiosity. And I would submit to you that the antidote to arrogance in our business culture today lies in curiosity. PwC did a large survey, and of course, CEOs will tell you that curiosity and open-mindedness are critical traits in leadership today. Now, I don't need to tell all of you this. Many of you took a plane to be here. You crossed the ocean. You took a train across countries to be here. You're here to learn, to grow your network. I see a dozen of you even looking up from your mobile device to follow this presentation right now. You are all curious people, so kudos to you. But not everybody shares that curiosity string, and that's a problem that we're going to discuss. Bill Gates will tell you this is a phenomenal time to be a curious person. We are all born curious. I have 3 young, crazy kids. I know many of you do as well. The reason they jump off of high monkey bars and spread peanut butter on their eggs is they are pushing the envelope to learn. They're pushing the envelope to find out what is. Years will go by, and disciplinarians and rules and rigor will try and suppress that curiosity. And I would impress upon many of you who are running businesses and organizations, let that culture of creativity thrive. We're all born innately curious. We did a survey with the INSEAD professor, Spencer Harrison, and talked to over 20,000 respondents on SurveyMonkey. And what we learned in Canada and the UK and the US, Portugal and Australia, people unsurprisingly describe themselves as curious, very curious, extremely curious. They're comfortable asking questions. They're comfortable with the value that comes from curiosity. But what was surprising and what was mildly disappointing is that under 5% of our respondents believed that curiosity was a highly touted trait and correlated to rewards in the workplace. What was highly regarded? As you would expect, commitment, work ethic, professionalism. You know who works really hard, takes very few bathroom breaks, never screws up? Once he's got a mechanical task he can perform over and over again and never complains to HR? You know who I'm talking about. It's the freaking robots. So in this dawning age of artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's those of us here in the room that are going to be programming the robots. You, my friends, stay curious. This is the last defense of our profession. We all know that curiosity is the parent to all the great companies that are birthed year in, year out. I'm just going to take a couple of these logos. Absolute Vodka, I'm sure many of you will start drinking in about 3 hours, was the #1 vodka in the world in 1992. And all of its competitors would try to undercut Absolute on price. The founder of Grey Goose recognized that it wasn't price that was determining which vodka you bought. He wanted to create a premium brand, something beautiful, something elegant. He goes to France on a vacation. He crafts a beautiful bottle. He puts a sexy logo on it. Fast forward 5 years, it's the #1 vodka in the world. And get this, he came over the top and was charging 80% more in price than Absolute. He sold that company for $2.2 billion 8 years later. Southwest Airlines was founded 50 years ago. Back in the late 60s and 70s, everybody talked about shareholders. You are in your company to serve your shareholders. That morphed to customers first. The customer's never wrong. Always please the customer. Herb Kelleher, the founder of Southwest Airlines, threw that out the window and publicly stated, I'm going to prioritize employees first. He prioritized his employees first. The employees served the customers. The customers made Southwest Airlines #1 in the world, and shareholders were the big winner. So great questions lead to making more money. We know this. They lead to disrupting and creating great companies like Grey Goose, like Southwest. Airbnb finds a different way to do business. Uber says everybody deserves their own private taxi. All the companies are founded based on an entrepreneur asking a great question. That great question leads to raising some seed money, creating a prototype, taking that product out and finding customer market fit. So if all the C-suite executives believe that disruption and creativity and curiosity is highly correlated to growth in your career, why do just 22% of our employees agree with this proposition? That's a problem, and it's a disconnect. And I would attribute that problem to the culture of genius. Some of you know what I mean. And some of you are guessing, and you're probably right. Maybe you work in a company today that has the culture of genius. You know, this is where some of the people in the company are deemed intelligent, their views are wiser than others. When some people speak up with an opinion or to challenge authority, they're kind of shushed and put down. Maybe somebody in a junior role or function or in a remote office around the company has a great idea, but she doesn't get the resources to follow through. And so that culture of genius permeates. There's the haves and the have-nots. And if you're in the have-not crowd, boy, do you know it. Because the haves will remind you time and time again, we're looking for a rock star. We're looking for an engineer with the intellectual rigor and ability to perform this set of tasks. No attention is paid to that growth mindset that you can actually learn and grow and be mentored and achieve. No, it's that you have some born right to be a genius. This is a toxic culture, and employees might stick with you as long as you're on a rocket ship, but when your business turns south or gets bumpy, they will flee for a better opportunity. So what's the disconnect? At SurveyMonkey, we surveyed a big group of people and found that 70% of C-suite executives see no problem, while only 36% of employees share that same enthusiasm. Are there barriers at work to you asking questions? 70% versus 36%. I think you can chalk this one up straight up to diversity, right? I'm a white guy. I'm sitting around the management room with a bunch of other white guys. What's the problem here? I got questions. They get answered. We're listening to each other. The broader employee population that's made up of a more diverse ethnicities, gender, sexual orientation, they don't feel heard. They don't feel like their ideas have a chance of getting running room. And that's going to be a big issue for those companies. So what is stifling curiosity in our companies today? We asked our respondents, and they said pretty clearly, 30% don't believe they're getting real answers. I have questions. I don't feel like management's hearing me. I don't feel like there is authenticity. 28% fear looking stupid. Over 40% in the UK and 60% in Australia say they have concerns about how they'll be perceived when they ask questions. So think about it. Glossophobia, I looked up right before the presentation, is the fear of public speaking. For many people, it's stronger than your fear of spiders or snakes or heights or even death. So if you work in a culture of genius where you know this non-diverse group of geniuses has all the right answers and isn't really looking for you to challenge authority, to challenge the norms, to ask questions which might carry some risk, you don't speak up, especially if you have a fear of public speaking and don't feel like being rejected. Who are we talking about serving? You know, as CEO of SurveyMonkey, I think I have three large constituents. First and foremost, it's my employees. The employees at SurveyMonkey are the ones who perform verbs. They code, they build, they sell, they market. Then you have your existing customers. These are the people who are keeping the lights on at your business. They're paying you for your product, they're paying you for your service. They demand a set of excellence from you and your team. And then you have your prospective customers, which companies big and small are constantly in pursuit of. They're the ones who are going to help you grow your market share, enable your next financing, and enable more career growth and opportunity for your team. We asked these folks, how many of you are inspired by your teammates? And non-surprisingly, you know, a decent percentage, 26% of the global workforce in the United States, found the greatest inspiration from their teammates. In the UK, the millennials, it was an even higher percentage, people who felt inspired by the folks around them. When we asked the inverse, said, how many of you are inspired by your customers? A third of the US workforce felt that that connection was there. They felt inspired by their customers. Only 18% of the millennial workers in the UK had that connection. Now, I think that connection with customers is critical because, as we preach at SurveyMonkey all the time, your gut is only so good and it is constantly informed by data. Take one of the most customer-centric companies in history, Nike. The co-founder said, if you have a body, you're an athlete. There are 1.6 Muslim citizens in the world. Let's say 800 million of those are women. 800 million Muslim women. So Nike connected with its customers and created the Nike Pro Hijab, which debuted at the Dubai Fashion Forward. High accolades. This ad has been viewed on YouTube and other online sites millions of times. And they took great risks trying to identify with Muslim athletes, what is it that we can provide to help you? They went through a number of prototypes trying to get the feel and the different materials right. This product will debut in April, and while the revenues might be significant, the media accolades for Nike of just how customer-centric and in tune they are with the needs of their customers might be even more important. And I think it's just a good reminder to many of us that in our online world, that customer tie is going to be critical. So I would argue today that the culture of curiosity in your companies is what's going to enable you to thrive. It's going to enable you to be closer to your employees and closer to your customers. There's no magic bullet, there's no hardware solution, there's no cloud solution you can download, but there are 5 ways that we believe through our research will help you create a culture of curiosity. First and foremost, create a safe space for transparent Q&A. This can be online, it can be in town halls, quarterly, monthly. You are the leaders of your organizations, you have got to take risks. They'll tell you in law school, you never ask a witness a question you don't know the answer to. I would submit to you, you need to be willing to answer questions that you don't know the answer to. You've got to show some risks, some vulnerability, and let your employees get real with you. And that can be pretty raw or jarring from the guy who's used to wearing a tie and have a perfect coiffed hair all the time. Secondly, you hear about it, you read about it, you've got to hire a diverse team. The press, and I give Sheryl Sandberg a lot of credit for this, around the importance of gender diversity in the workforce, especially at the leadership level, is so critical today. Third, you've got to reward great questions. It's not only the questions that lead to innovation, you've got to celebrate the failures too. If the CEO is up there only boasting about the things that worked, he or she is missing the ones where we had a good hypothesis, we thought we had a great idea, we tested it, it failed. Let's celebrate that. Otherwise, your team's going to be unwilling to take great risks. 4, you've got to connect your teams to customers, as we just discussed with Nike. And then lastly, you got to get the context of the data. Big data is important, but if you don't have the context around the data, you're going to miss something. 67% of federal employees identified themselves as engaged in the United States. Is that a good number? I don't know. If you got a 67% on a test score, you probably failed. But that was a 6-year high for federal employees. Now, we'll see what happens in the Trump administration. But relative to private industry, that's a pretty low number. Fortune 1000 added 74 women to boards in 2016. Is that a good number? You know, on a gross number, it feels like a pretty healthy number. On an absolute basis, there are 20% of board seats occupied in the Fortune 1000 by women. That's pathetic. There's a lot of growth and expansion that needs to happen there. And I'm super proud to announce today that SurveyMonkey is adding Sue Decker, the former president of Yahoo and a current board member at Costco and Berkshire Hathaway, to our board of directors. This Google Pixel ad has been viewed 7 million times in the last month. It's a really creative, fun ad. Is that good? It is good for an ad. Now, it's been dwarfed by the iPhone 8 ad, which has over 18 million views in the same period, but it's pretty impressive. So what I would leave you with is that marketing is not all about data science. Data science has been called the sexiest industry for the 21st century. It's super critical. But let's not forget the importance of the qualitative questions which inform data science. Tony Robbins is the inspirational business author, business coach, and he will tell you that the quality of your life is created by the quality of your questions. I'll repeat, the quality of your life is created by the quality of your questions. Let those questions inform the feedback you gather, the data you collect, and then importantly, what you do with the data once you have it. So what questions will you ask to take us back to the top? I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook. What was the question which launched your company, your idea, that you're excited about? And then importantly, what are you going to do to cultivate a culture of curiosity at your company so that you and your teams can thrive? Thank you for your time. Enjoy your lunch.
Okay, culture of curiosity. Fantastic, getting to the why, getting beyond the data. Now you can go to lunch. Thanks, everybody. That was a very inspired and in-depth and very intensive set of sessions. There's more to come, big brands, big people, disruptors and disruptees. We do have to get back here on time at 1:30. It's still shooting for 1:30, so if you can have a very fast lunch, that'd be great. So thank you, and see you back here at 1:30.
When you have this kind of scale, and this is not your religion, you're in deep shit.
This place is already innovating at a speed we don't understand.
I want to look for the Google of Greater China.
It's a great feeling here.
I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see everything.
Rise is the web.
Make some noise, Collision!
The most inspiring creative conference in the world.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You have to be hungry and curious, and this is a place where you can come and sustain that curiosity.
I never saw content at scale like this before. I don't think any of us did.
The reason I'm here today is to talk about equality.
It is one of the best tech events in the world.
I'm in heaven.
Ladies and gentlemen, the stage will now break for lunch. Content will resume in 45 minutes. Please. Please take your seats. The stage will open in 15 minutes.
When you have this kind of scale, and this is not your religion, you're in deep shit.
This place is already innovating at a speed we don't understand.
I want to look for the Google of Greater China.
It's a great feeling here.
I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see everything.
RISE is the Web Summit of Asia.
Make some noise, Collision!
The most inspiring creative conference in the world.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You have to be hungry and curious, and this is a place where you can come and sustain that curiosity.
I never saw content at scale like this before. I don't think any of us did.
The reason I'm here today is to talk about equality.
It is one of the best tech events in the world.
I'm in heaven.
Please take your seats. The stage will open in 5 minutes.
When you have this kind of scale, and this is not your religion, you're in deep shit.
This place is already innovating at a speed we don't understand.
I want to look for the Google of Greater China.
It's a great feeling here.
I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see everything.
RISE is the Web Summit of Asia.
Make some noise, Collision!
The most inspiring creative conference in the world.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing.
You have to be hungry and curious, and this is a place where you can come and sustain that curiosity.
I never saw content at scale like this before. I don't think any of us did.
The reason I'm here today is to talk about equality.
It is one of the best tech events in the world.
I'm in heaven.
everybody, and welcome back to Panda Conference, the foremost forum for marketing, communications, advertising, digital media communications here at Web Summit. My name is Walter Jennings, and I'll be your MC for the afternoon. I actually volunteered to be here today because I'm a 30-year veteran of communications. I've worked in Australia, the US, Hong Kong, and currently now in Shenzhen, China. That's a little bit of background. I work on the global corporate reputation of Huawei Technologies, a global telecommunications company. Now that's a little bit of what I do, but not why I do it. And I think like everyone here in the room, our role is to help overcome misperceptions, to help bridge communications haves and have-nots. And what better place than here at Web Summit to learn how the emerging technologies are changing the way we receive communications, the way we share communications, and the way we process communication. For the easiest example, I just need to look at my 14-year-old son and to understand the way he shares and receives information varies dramatically differently from the way I did at that age and the way his children will at their age. So tech is severely disrupting communication, but then creating opportunities, new roles that hadn't existed before. Huawei Technologies is a leader in telecommunications and communications technology. So we're creating the pipeline that is delivering artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and by 2020, 5G, which will allow 100 billion connections, thus bringing to reality the Internet of Things, as well as autonomous vehicles and new ways of communicating going forward. What I've got the pleasure of doing this afternoon is bringing to you a serious lineup of great marketing and communications professionals who will talk about how the traditional theories of communication and marketing are being melded with the advanced technology that helps us reach audiences in ways that they don't even know is benefiting their reception of the message. So let's begin with our first speaker. With their Make the Future campaign, Shell truly challenged the convention of what it means to be an energy company. Here with us today is the CEO of Shell Brands International, Dean Aragon. He is taking much of his experience learned in B2C communications and applying that in a traditional B2B brand. So let's learn more about how Shell used the technology today to reach out and engage with millennials. Please join me in welcoming Dean Aragon.